Hey friends, welcome back to Wild Hearts Homestead. Last year I started selling chicks and pullets, and this year I started hatching out my own chicks to sell. So I am going to tell you today all of the tips and tricks that I have used to get the best hatch rate possible from my incubator when I hatch out chicks. So now that my incubator is washed, I am going to set it up where I am going to use it. And this bathroom counter works out to be a really good spot to set this up. It does not really get disturbed. Nobody really comes in here. I'm going to run this for a little bit just to make sure it's all the way dry. Alright, so that's just going to sit here and run for a little bit just to make sure all the pieces are dry. Since we are washing and there is electrical pieces up there, I just want to make sure that no water is getting in there and ruining anything. But once it's clean and ready to go, you can go ahead and get ready to start putting chicks in here. Alright, so when we are collecting eggs to be put in the incubator, I always collect my eggs every single day. But because it could take me several days worth of eggs to fill up my incubator, I try not to go more than about 3 days of collecting eggs before they go in the incubator. There wasn't that many eggs today. Oh, they're down here. And I only have 1, 2, 3. I only have 5 of the Easter eggers. So right now I'm specifically only hatching my blue eggs, but you want to try to find eggs that are pretty clean. You don't want eggs that have poop on them or anything like that. Like, these eggs are pretty clean. We haven't had a lot of rain. And so we will go put these in our incubator. When I'm using my red stars, it takes me about 3 days to fill up this entire incubator. But because I have a lot less of Easter eggers, it takes me longer. So this is about 4, maybe 5 days of collecting. So I am not going to collect after today, but I am going to mark the ones that were in here. Today's the 14th. And then when you have eggs that are sitting that you want them to be hatching, you need to make sure that you're turning them, because the embryo can get stuck to the side of the egg if you do not turn it regularly. You can do this by taking an egg cart and having them in there and tilting it back and forth every few hours. But the way that I like to handle this is I will plug this in a couple times a day, and then all I will do is hit this plus and minus at the same time on here, and it will turn my eggs for me. So I'll try to do this maybe like 4 or 5 times a day until I'm ready to start incubating. So now that I have all of my eggs in here and I'm ready to start incubating, I am going to fill up the first slot of water, the letter A slot, and I'm going to put the cap back on the B slot. Alright, so we've got our water in there. We're going to put our lid on. It doesn't have to be hot water since we're just starting this off, but when you add water, I recommend that you make sure that it is hot, warm water that you're putting in so that you're not dropping the temperature on your eggs in here. So now we're going to go ahead and plug this in. And because we are starting a new batch, we are going to have to reset this. Alright, so we have our temperature here, which I'm actually going to decrease just a little bit, just a ½ degree, because the last 2 batches that I've done, I have had 1 chick in each batch that was born with external organs, and I was reading that that could possibly be due to the temperature being just a tiny bit too high. So we're just going to turn that down ½ degree, and then we're going to put our days in here. So 21 days to hatch. That's good. And we should be all set to go. So now if we want to see how many days, oops, okay, we're going to change that. Never mind, I take it back. there we go. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we are going to leave this vent down here half open while we wait for the humidity to stabilize. We are looking for humidity to be around 50%. We can open this more if our humidity is too high, or close it if our humidity is too low, if we already have our water dish full. Now, one of the things that it recommends is that you make sure the temperature in the room does not drop below 72 degrees. Now, we do not heat our house that hot when it is cold outside. So our house does drop down into the low 60s during the night. So one of the things that I have found to be very helpful is to wrap this with a thick blanket. I tried one time to put a space heater in here to keep the room at the recommended temperature, and my electric bill was astronomical. So the next month I tried this, the next batch I tried this, and it worked beautifully. So the blanket also actually helps keeps chicks calm during the hatching process because it keeps it nice and dark in there. When you have so many chicks hatching at one time, they are jumping all over the place, knocking into each other, going nuts. And I have found, I believe, that actually hurts my hatch rate. When I have done this where I have them covered and keep them dark and keep them calmer and they're not jumping around and moving eggs all over the place and rolling everybody around, my hatch rate is much, much better. So the blanket serves two purposes. It keeps the heat in, and it keeps the chicks calm during hatching so that they're not rolling all of the unhatched chicks all over the place and causing them to have issues. One of the reasons why I like to keep my incubator in the bathroom is that anytime I need to open this, I'll do it right after taking a shower, or I'll run the water for a while so the humidity in the room is higher. You want to make sure your humidity in your incubator stays above 50% for up until you're 3 days away from hatch, and then after that you want to take off this other cover that was here, fill both of these up with water. This one should already be filled with water, and you want to open the ventilation all the way up, and your goal is to get the humidity up to 75%. I've had my humidity as high as 100%. I haven't had any detrimental effects from my humidity being higher, but you will have detrimental effects from your humidity being too low. Alright, so now we're going to open this, and we are going to take out the egg turner. That way, when our chicks start to hatch, they won't be tripping over the egg turner and hurting themselves. And it gives them a little bit more room. As you're doing this, if you have any eggs that are having a difficult time fitting through the egg turner, take them out, set them on the side on a towel, something soft, and then once you have the egg turner out, put those eggs back in. You don't want the eggs to fall through or jar. That could kill the babies inside the eggs. You want to be very gentle. I can see this one is going to have an issue. This looks good. All right. Now we are in lockdown mode. We will not open this until they are done hatching. Not for any reason at all. Even if you have a chick that looks like it is stuck and it is not getting out of its shell, do not open this. You'll jeopardize any other chicks that are in the process of hatching. Now that all of our chicks are moved out into the brooder, this is what's left. Gross. So the first thing I do is I take it outside and I rinse it off really good. Cleaning the incubator really good is a very important step to having success in your future hatch rates. I give it an initial scrub outside to get that first layer of grossness off before taking it in for a better wash. Once inside, I'm able to scrub it much better and get it very, very clean so that it's ready for our next batch of chicks. I also take apart and clean the fan because a lot of the fluff from the chicks can get stuck up in the fan. If after trying all of these tricks you're still having trouble getting your chicks to hatch at a good rate, here's some things to check for. Some factors to consider for why you're having a poor hatch rate. The rooster's age could be a factor if he's older. If you have more hens than he's able to cover, usually from what I've heard, you want 1 rooster per 8 hens or so. It could be a little bit more, but if you have a flock of 40 hens and you have 1 rooster, your rooster's not going to be able to cover all of your hens to give you fertile eggs. Another thing to be careful of is the care of your eggs before incubation. You want to make sure that you're doing the tilting so the yolk is not sticking to the side of the egg, and you want to make sure that you're using your eggs that are as fresh as possible. The longer you wait to start incubating them, the lower your chances are of them actually getting to hatch. Also, check on your incubator. Its location. Are there drafts coming from vents in your house? If you're doing it when it's cold outside, are you making sure that your incubator is staying at the proper temperature? Have you calibrated the temperature to make sure that it's not incorrect? And then you also want to make sure that you are keeping it in a place where it's not going to get bumped or jiggled or disturbed while the chicks are developing. And last but definitely not least, you need to make sure that you keep a consistent humidity in your incubator. It's really important that you're not opening your incubator for extended periods of time and letting that humidity drop. Those chicks can get dried in the sack and then they can't hatch. So you need to make sure you're keeping the humidity high. So those are my tips and tricks for hatching eggs in my incubator at home. If you have any other tips or tricks, please leave them down in the comments below. If you've tried this, let me know what worked for you or what were you struggling with. What were your hatch rates like? Usually we shoot for about 85% of our hatch, and that would be a good hatch rate for us. The best hatch rate that I have had yet, I had 18 out of 22 eggs hatch. That's really good. So thanks for hanging out here today with us on the farm, and I will see you next time. Bye.